Salut, my name is Make, and this is program called Make SPIEL. And today I want to tell you about 20 my favorite card games that you can play on the beach. Number 20, Archaeology: The New Expedition. We start with more or less a typical set collection game. Second edition of Archaeology has a very cool illustration and various monuments that can be explored on their turn. Players draw one card from the deck, and then, if desired, they can change these cards on the market in order to collect different rarities and values in order to sell them in the museum. These collections laid down in front of them. Sandstorms occur, so players would lose half of their cards to the market, and sometimes players can also use thieves in order to steal other players' cards. If you like set collection games, you definitely have to check this game. This is the 20th game in my list, Archaeology. Number 19, the game called Arboretum. It's another gorgeous looking game. However, previous edition, green edition, judging by the photos online, probably even more nicely looking, but the second edition is also really nice. Players put the cards in their tableau in order to create different paths or patterns. You also need to think not only about the cards you lay in front of you, but the cards you have in your hand by the end of the game. This is quite complicated scoring. It somewhat reminds me another classic game by Rainer Knizia, Lost Cities, which is a little bit higher on my list, while Arboretum is only on the 19th place. Number 18, a very cool circus-themed game called Scout. In this game, players receive their cards and decide which orientation they use them. They can't change the order of the cards they received, so they either use them one side or another. On their turn, players either play a combination of cards from their hand in front of them, which is called show, or taking one of the cards from another player's combination, which is called scout. Once per round, you could do both scout and show. I really like the graphic design and details such as, for example, the names of circus performers. A small detail, unnecessary, but it provides something for the theme of the game. Number 17, a game called Fox in the Forest, or the Fuchs im Wald. Trick-taking games is one of the really popular genre of the games, and this mechanic is becoming as popular as, I don't know, deck building. There are lots and lots of games currently being released with this mechanic, and it's not only small card games like this one, but also big boxes with area control and other mechanics involved. But most of these games with trick-taking, they are for 3 or in many cases for 4 players. And this game is only for 2 players, and that's why I couldn't resist to play it. So in this game, we have rules, of course. We have markers to count how many points you get. You can also use just pen and paper to score. We have 3 suits. So even cards, they just cards, but uneven cards, they have different special effects. It's in German. I study German, and these uneven cards, they provide you some special effects. In every round, you need to collect certain amount of tricks. If you get 7 to 9, you get 6 points, or if you get 0 to 3, also 6 points. So 6 points is the maximum how much you can points you can get in one round, but you can also get extra points for these uneven cards. For example, if you play 7, if you get trick with the 7, then you get one extra point. So that's the possibility to get 7 and more points in one round. Or for example, with 3, with Fox, you can change the trump. And whoever gets a certain amount of points, I guess 21, wins the game. Number 16, Lost Cities. I played this game only on BGA, where you can play lots and lots of games for free. This is the classic game by Rainer Knizia that I mentioned already before. As The Fox in the Forest, this designed exclusively for 2 players. On their turn, the player plays their card either on their tableau, expedition, what it's called, in ascending order, or in between the players on the player mate. Yes, there's a small board, but you can play basically without it, so this is the solely card game. In the end, players get 1 card either from this board or from the deck. The feature of the game is the final scoring. For every suit you played, you get minus 20 points. These are kind of money you spent on expedition, plus the sum of value of all the cards you put in this expedition. Each suit also has 3 multiplier cards that should be played before any other cards, before starting the expedition, that could multiply and get you a lot of points. This is a really cool game. I highly recommend it. Number 16, Lost Cities. On number 15, a game by Freedom and Freeze called Friday. It's one of 2 solo games in this list. Then the only deck building game. Yes, the game comes with boards and wooden health markers, but basically you could play without them. So it's again a card game. The task is not too difficult to guess, is to survive on the island, getting rid of weak cards. The game has different difficulty levels. It's very beautiful, very well themed. One of the best solo games I ever played. So number 15, game called Friday. Number 14, the game called Stroll Police. Another solo game, which however technically can, but not recommended, can be played multiplayer. It consists only of 18 double-sided cards. On one side consists of 4 fragments of different types of terrain, and on the other side, different scoring criteria. 3 of these scoring cards will be involved in every session, in every game, and the sum of these numbers of these tasks is how many points you have to score in order to beat the game. This game reminded me another game in a rather small box, the game called Village Rails that I already reviewed in the Village in Bulgaria. However, Village Rails is a quite complicated and crunchy game that I couldn't call filler, while game Strollpolis or Naturopolis, the third game of this series, and probably my favorite one, that has also rivers and tents for camping. It's maybe because of the theme, maybe because of the maybe illustrations and these new tasks, is my favorite of this series of the games. Number 14, Strollpolis or Naturopolis. Number 13, game called Fungi or Morals. It's a game about mushroom pickers. There's a conveyor belt of cars with different types of beautifully painted mushrooms right under the feet of the players. Also baskets, apparently lost by mushroom pickers in the forest. Butter, cedar, and branches that are used as a forest currency can be found in the forest. In addition, there are moons in this game that will open this possibility to collect especially rare night mushrooms. Like archaeology, this is the game with set collection mechanic. I'm not a big fan of this mechanic, but I'm a big fan of mushroom picking. That's why I'm especially pleased with the theme and illustrations. This game probably a little bit too simple for me, and also there's a lot of fiddling associated with the constant shifting of the cards. But it's a really beautiful game, really light, nice. Number 13. 12, the game called Sea Salt Pepper, in a really tiny small package. Last year we've got this game in local Berlin library and immediately called this card game of the year. Really cool illustrations in kind of origami style, tiny box, quite deep for such a small game. Lack of fiddling like in other set collection games make it excellent recommendation. Sea Salt Pepper consists of these beautiful cards. Like in other set collection games, there are cards that you try to collect and get as much points as possible, but most of them will provide you different, so 1 point, but also a certain effect if you collect pairs of cards, for example 2 fishes, or this is then kind of cards for negative interaction. It can be not for everyone, but it's also a nice feature of the game, provide you some interaction. If you collect this swimmer and the shark, then you can steal a card from an opponent. This from micro expansion. This also, so as you see, there's a really beautifully illustrated game, and no fiddling. You just shuffle cards, deal them, and try to collect 7 points or more. And the trick is to actually how you stop the game. You either stop or let the last chance to other players, and there's a bit complicated scoring type in both of these situations, and if you lose or win, but as soon as you learn how to do it, everything become clear. So it's a really nice, tiny, rather new game, Sea Salt Pepper. Number 11, game called Port Royal. My wife and I adore Alexander Pfister's genius. We like his more complicated games, while Port Royal is a really light, push-you-like game, which is really cool. All the cards are double-sided. On one side, they are used as coins. On the other side, you can find ships for unloading, which you get the coins, characters that give you points, and also give extra help sinking ships you don't need, receiving various bonuses, as well as expeditions and taxes. This is a very gambling game with several expansions that fit into the new edition of the game, with rather colorful illustrations. I like personally the old cozy illustrations by Clemens Franz much more, but you'll need to buy all the expansions for them separately. So decide which one suits you better. So here we are, number 10, the game by Maestro Rainer Knizia, Battle Lines. This is similar to Lost Cities that I already mentioned. It's also for 2 players, but you can actually play with 3 players. On their turn, players put cards between them in 9 columns, trying to capture the flag in different theaters of war, forming various combat formations. The main feature here is powerful tactic cards that can be played a maximum of 1 more than the opponents. I prefer the old edition with the antique setting with very thick cards. The new medieval edition with a variety of flag cards type terrains, which seem redundant to me, is still inferior to the old one. However, if there's only a new edition around, you can safely grab it. It's getting really hot. Today is about 32 Celsius degrees in Berlin. It's getting warmer and warmer, and in my top it's also getting hot. Game number 9. It's the most popular trick-taking games in my childhood in the Soviet Union as well. It's a game called Preference. After endless games with my dad and younger brother on summer vacation, I was playing this game on computer, and would happily to play it now. The game is very interesting and very deep. There's a kind of auction held in the beginning, and then the player who won this auction will announce the game or how many tricks they are going to take or not take any tricks. Preference can be played only with 2, but it's much more interesting with 3 or 4. It's played with the typical cards. I have one here, deck of cards from 7 to ace. So only 32 cards involved, and you calculate all the points on the sheet of paper. There are lots of trick-taking games, and also there were some games in my childhood. Here in Germany, there's another popular trick-taking game called Skat for 3 players. And I believe if I would be a German teenager back in the days, then probably another trick-taking games as Skat would be at my number 9. Number 8, the game called The Crew, Mission Deep Sea. Immediately when I played this game, I nicknamed it this game as Cooperative Preference. So it really reminded me of these childhood games, but in this cooperative campaign style game. I must admit that my wife and I, we don't like cooperative games. We don't like to play against algorithm. We like to play against each other. But we must admit this game is still really cool, really interesting. However, you need to play this game at least with 3 players, and probably 4 is even better, probably 5, but not with 2. So it's another problem why we didn't like this game as much, though we still acknowledge how good this trick-taking component is implemented to this card game, with a really interesting campaign in which probably narrative is not the most important part, but these complicating tasks that require limited communication between players need to be solved. So the game number 8 is The Crew, Mission Deep Sea. Number 7, it's all started with this game. It's a game of my childhood. You can play it also with this ordinary deck. The game is probably the most popular game in all post-Soviet territory, and it's called Durak, or the fool in English. I used to play many games with this ordinary deck, but this game is the most popular and accessible one for 2 to 6 players, and with 2 decks you can even play with more. We used to play it with 10 people in my childhood at Dacha. There are many varieties of this game. For 10 years now, we have been playing a version of this Durak with a closed trump card, which we called Marxist Durak. In my opinion, because the trump card changes at the end of the game, the luck from the drawing of cards in your hand is leveled, and the task is not to just get the best cards from the deck by the end of the game, but diversify the suits in your hand in order to win the game, to get rid of the cards. I have a little bit provocative deck of cards. It's anti-fascist cards from 1943. Of course, it's not original, but reprint. So in this game, it's a typical deck of cards. You shuffle them, you deal 6 cards to every player, and then you get the trump card, and I like to play it with the secret one, as I said. So it's during the whole game, this is the main trump, but then it's changing to another one. But if we play without it, players get cards. You can start with the card, and the other player should beat it or take it. So yeah, we need one more card. So we can beat it only with the trump suit, and another player can probably give okay, another card, and this player obviously needs to take it. Then another player gets 2 more cards to 6, and then when the deck is over, and probably we changed the trump, but we could play without it, and whoever get rid of all the cards, they win, and the last person will be declared as a full Durak. So it's an interesting game in which we don't have winners, we have a loser. So it's another type of actually game, I would say, and I kind of like it. So probably it's even better for education. It's not trying to encourage people to be the best, but probably not to be the worst one. Yeah. Number 6, the younger daughter of another game by Rainer Knizia, Modern Art, and this game called Private Collection or Modern Art card game. It seems like it's already 3rd game by Rainer Knizia in my top, so I kind of like his card games. So there are only cards and a few tokens in the small box. Parties, the games fly rapidly thanks to the auction that cut off from this game related to modern art. And I believe this mechanic is somewhat a little bit outdated in game design, so I kind of like that there is no auction in this game. As an art historian, I adore the theme and visuals of this game, and the artworks by post-impressionist artists. The game is a blast, and probably the only disadvantage in our situation that it requires at least 3, ideally 4 players to fully enjoy this game. So number 6, Private Collection or Modern Art card. Number 5, the game called For Sale. Despite the fact that I just said that I don't really like the auction games, but yes, here we are, number 5, game For Sale with the main mechanic auction. By the way, this game also was published in the same line as Private Collection. and actually have them together on my shelf. For Sale is one of the coolest and most fun card games in which players, unfortunately only from 3 but up to 6, need to place their bets in the first part of the game in order to buy hilarious real estate. Really cool illustrations, really funny, like a box or a kind of mansion, or really cool looking buildings, houses you have to buy. And in the second part of the game, you have to sell it in order to get as much money as possible. This is a very simple and accessible game, which was recently re-released in less attractive illustrations, but also there's another version of this game I never played, dedicated to second-hand cars, which is probably interesting. There's also a small expansion that I heard maybe overcomplicate this simple formula, but the original version of this game For Sale is on the number 5 in my list. Number 4, the game called Point Salad or Punktsalat. It seems that it's the latest card game in our collection, and it became a real hit both at my home with my daughter. It says 8 plus, but my daughter, she's 4 and she plays it a lot. We play it at the game events. It's really good for 2 and 6 players. A really good one. As some other games, it has 2-sided cards, and let me show you a little bit how to play this game. Well, Point Salad or Punktsalat. So we have lots and lots of cards with different vegetables, 6 types of vegetables, and on one side these are different recipes, and we in the beginning we create 3 decks of cards, and then we open 2 cards from every deck, and on their turn player can either get 2 different vegetables and put them in front of them, or they can get one recipe that will become like a scoring condition for them. And every vegetable will score for every recipe. So for example, if we get 2 of these recipes, this paprika will score for both here and here. So you can multiply and get a lot of points if you smartly collect vegetables and recipes. We are on the 3rd place in my top 20 favorite card games of all times. And on the 3rd place, the game called Love Letter. This is another ingenious micro game consisting of just a few cards with the hidden role mechanic, which I adore, like in Citadels, which is not in my list because it's a little bit too complicated for playing on the beach, I would say. But Love Letter is here on the 3rd place. On your turn, you need to take a second card. You already have one in the beginning of the game, and play one of these 2 cards in front of you, doing what is said on the card. Players eliminate from the game, and the only person that still in the round get 1 point, and then you try to collect some points in order to win the game. Yes, there's some luck involved, but also a place for bluffing and for so-called mind games, which I really like in board and card games. My favorite version is also actually not a typical Love Letter, and there are a lot of spin-offs and rethemed versions, and my favorite is the game only ever published in Russian, and it's called Secret Invasion in Star Wars setting. and it's a little bit different from the other game in a similar setting that was published in the West. It has larger cards, it has Boba Fett, which is interesting, but the main feature of the game are two robots, C-3PO and R2-D2, which have opposite effects. So one of them, instead of the barons, when you check the cards, the player with the higher cards eliminated from the game. And I like how this Star Wars setting is implemented in this really cool mechanic. But in any way, number 3, Love Letter, or any other version in this universe. Okay, number 2, probably the newest game in my list, called Faraway. It was released originally only in French. Probably now it's already released in English, but you don't really need to know the language to play this game, so it's completely language independent. In game Faraway, the most interesting part is final scoring. So we play 8 rounds, and every round we add one card from left to right to our travel to Faraway. And at the end of the game, we flip all the cards here, and then we one after another flip one card from the last card we actually played, and then we do it in the reverse order. So here we have this pineapple, as many called, and the stone. These are just resources, so it's good to play them at the end, because they will provide you necessary materials for scoring other cards. So then we see another card. It provides you some resources, but also I would get 7 points if I would have 3 stones, but unfortunately I have only 2. So then I flip another card, and here the requirements 2 stones, I have them, and I get 8 points. And here we see I have 1 stone and I need 3 chimera. I have 1 here, but I also have smaller cards that I also played in front of me, so I have 2 more, and this means that I will get 3 points for every yellow and the red cards. So it's 1, 2, 3, and probably 4, 5 on 3, it's 15 points. And I score all 8 cards like this. I get also extra points from these small cards, and then I calculate the final score, and whoever has more points is the winner. The most interesting part of the game is actually not the game itself, which is really interesting, but the final scoring. You can play with any player count. Probably maybe it's better with 2 to 3 players, but it's actually really good up to 6 players. So, number 1, Uno. No, not Uno. Red 7. This is my favorite card game. It's number 1 in my list of card games for many years. It's a brilliant game by Karl Chudek. Consists of only 49 cards of 7 suits, from 1 to 7. Of which players need to make combinations like in poker. In game Red 7, you get 7 cards and 1 card in front of you. Here we have rules for the game. We start with the red rules, so the highest card wins. We see our opponent has a stronger card, 7, and we have only 4, which means I can either put a higher card. So for example, 7 yellow is higher than the green. So even though these both 7s, mine would be higher. Or I could do something else. I could, for example, add 1 card, or just not adding it, but change the rules. And I changed the rules to green, which means that every even card counts. So I have one even card, the opponent has no, so which means that I win and it's their turn. And if I, for example, change the rules with the card value higher than more than cards I have in front of me, I get another card from the deck. And when the opponent or me can't play another card in order to win, then the opponent would take all the cards that are used for the winning combination, in our case it's 4, and put it under our card here, so which means that I get 4 points, and whoever get 40 points in two-player game would win the game. The author of this game made other really cool card games with also cards that can be used differently, not only as a card that you play in front of you, but to change something. So in games like Motanai or Innovation or Glory to Rome, you also do this, but probably those games are a little bit too complicated to play on the beach. Motanai is a game that I'm pretty sure influenced the authors of this game, also with a similar aesthetic, the game about Japanese monks manufacturing and selling various objects and goods in Buddhist temple. But yeah, I like his games, but probably this one is the most accessible, while really deep, crunchy, really cool filler games for geeks. And not only, I already gave it as a present to many of my friends, and it's probably the third box in our collection because we just had to give it as a present to other friends of us who was really impressed with how cool and interesting this game is. So here it is. Here's my 20 most favorite card games in our collection, that games we like to play with my wife, sometimes with a third person, or sometimes that I play on my own. And if I forgot to mention some games you really like, and maybe you disagree with something, or maybe agree and would love to maybe add something, please share your thoughts, ideas, tops in the comments. And yeah, here it is. I need to swim now, and have a good day. Ciao, and have a good place. Bye. My name is Make, and subscribe to my channel, Make Spiel. Ciao. Tschüss.
Ma non state facendo niente, che mi state solo tenendo a galla.